Seeing none, is there, that concludes all business before the Claims Committee this month. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? None. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you, Gianna.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Council President.
either Chairman, Ferry or Donnie, I suggest we wait a couple of minutes to give those people we asked to step out another
Yes.
opportunity to log back in before we start the next meeting.
All right, so we'll take like a 3-minute break.
Yeah.
All right.
That's fine. Mr. Lima,
Yes.
I think Richard is in the,
Yes, I see. He must have dropped back in.
okay.
He must have exited the meeting. I see him now.
Okay. All right, could everyone please turn their video on so we can get started? please?
Sorry, guys, I was on a legal counsel call.
That's all right.
Oh,
Mr. Lima, is Matt Riley trying to get in?
it's not working.
I'm here. I'm not a member of this committee.
I'm not seeing Mr. Riley. He was here. He's not on the call right now.
All right.
All right, we didn't start yet, right? And miss nothing?
Not yet. Okay, I'd like to call the January 13th, 2022 Public Works meeting to order. Rose, could you please take a roll?
Councilwoman Moreno,
Present?
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Present.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Present.
Councilman Riley, Councilman Riley, Councilman Campiano,
Here.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Here.
Council President Paplaskas.
Present.
I'd like to entertain a motion to continue the minutes of the prior meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Rose, could you please take a roll?
Councilwoman Moreno,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
Okay, I see that there are no committee business matters carried over. So next, I'd like to open public hearings. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to have public comment on any of the items on the agenda tonight? Mr. Lima, anyone there?
Yes, we have Sarah Tino Woodman.
Sarah?
Hello,
Hi.
hear me?
Yes, the floor is yours.
great. I just wanted to say thank you, first of all, for putting, for the council and to Councilwoman Vargas for putting the potential one-way drop-off in the morning and pickup times on Shaw Avenue as a one-way. I just want to thank you all for putting that on the agenda under new matters today. And I just wanted to speak a little bit in favor of it in case anybody had any questions who was unfamiliar with the street. It is a narrow street and Rhodes Elementary School is located about a quarter of the way down if you're coming from Broad Street. And in the mornings, for the past 7 years, I've been going down this street and it is quite congested in the morning with cars going in each direction, so much so that buses have a very difficult time making their way in and out to drop off the children in front of the school, which is an obvious problem for some of the children and the cars. Additionally, cars tend in this street to also do 3-point turns in the middle of the street to head back down it in the opposite direction, which is a very obvious danger to walkers, which there are many of in our in that area of the neighborhood. And it's dangerous for cars as well. So based on all of those observations and the safety of our community and the safety of the children going to school, I would ask you to please consider making Shaw Avenue a one-way during the pickup and drop-off times to minimize the impact to the rest of the street at other times of day. Thank you very
Sarah,
much.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to testify on any of the matters on the agenda tonight? Sarah, could you please mute?
Oh, absolutely. If I can find it, or you can mute.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lima, any other testimony? Any other public hearings?
I did not see anyone at that time. If they could just raise their hand again. I'm seeing no further public comment.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to close public hearings and open up new matters before the committee. First, we have Councilwoman Vargas. Would like to have a discussion on parking ban communication. Councilwoman Vargas, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman, and Happy New Year to all of my colleagues and everyone that's on the call. Wishing you lots of good health and definitely blessings in the year ahead. So as you all heard, school committee member speak, Sarah just spoke regarding Shore Avenue. She reached out to me, I'd say maybe sometime in December, in hopes that we can actually work together to consider, as she noted, making Shore Avenue a one-way, potentially during school days, during drop-off in the morning and dismissal.
Councilwoman Vargas, the first item on here was parking ban communication.
Oh, I apologize. Well, I'll continue on this subject matter if you don't mind, just because I'm already talking about it and I can go back into my parking ban. Is that okay?
Is that all right that we do that, Council President? Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
Thank you. My apologies on that. I was just so excited to hear school committee Sarah on there. And so pretty much kind of, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, point is, we have a lot of schools throughout the different wards across the entire city where we do have some sort of signage that says what the early pickup is and what the drop-off time is as well. So given the fact that it's been a concern, and I believe the school committee member Woodman might have children there, she's probably heard from parents. I myself have started to get a couple of emails on my end in hopes that we can actually consider the morning and the drop off and the pickup time a one-way only. I did reach out already to Director Mason on this, so there has been some email exchange. It could probably be made based on an ordinance. I believe once an ordinance introduced, from what I was told, it is then after when we are able to actually have a traffic report done or a traffic study done on that road. So my hope is that, I wanted to make sure that I shine a light on this concern and let you all know that this most likely will be coming. So in the event any one of you receive any type of communication or the administration on this, but also work with anyone on this that's interested, particularly the administration and Director Mason. Director Mason, I believe this has to be done through an ordinance, and correct me if I'm wrong. And so do you see any objection, and do I need to have any public hearing whatsoever on this matter? I would assume it should, if it's going to go before an ordinance. Does it go through ordinance, and does it go through Public Works? And B, I sent an email just today to the principal of the school as well on this, just so that way we can all be on the same page. And this may be something relatively new even to the superintendent, which, much to my fault, I have not reached out to her on this issue. I'm not sure if the school committee member has or not. So if Director Mason is on the call, I'm not sure, is he on this evening? Oh, there he is.
Yes.
Sorry, it's like the Brady Bunch. I'm kind of looking up, looking down, trying to figure out where you are on here. Okay. So Director Mason, yeah, any feedback, anything that we can do on this matter? I just hate to see a child or anyone get hit with the amount of traffic going through the school.
No, it's really just an ordinance change that, in addition, we have this at several schools, Dew Temple being one of them. And, you just somebody has to prepare an ordinance as to the hours of the one way, and also which direction that you want to go in. And I've already talked to the traffic engineer, and he has absolutely no problem with it. And as long as you get buy-in with the schools, and perhaps you want to reach out to, the residents on Shore Avenue, but I don't see how they would have a problem with it.
Okay, perfect. Now, do they get notice Ms. Director Mason, on once an ordinance gets introduced regarding the impact that a one-way may have just during that peak time in the morning and the afternoon?
I don't believe that's a requirement. It might be nice to send a pamphlet or a leaflet or an email to the folks on Shore Avenue.
Okay, all right, perfect, thank you. So to council, school committee member Woodman, I will certainly be putting some language together and and I'll send that over to you as well, so you're well aware and reach out to the school and the superintendent as well. And obviously, yes, I will be putting something together for the residents of Shore Ave. So that was my item on Shore Ave. While I have the floor, on the other item that I have regarding the parking ban communications, I think this is a subject matter that I have brought before the committee at some point. Maybe not, it might not be fresh. It might be something that I could have brought in my first term. But I'm really trying to get a sense as to, is there any way whatsoever that we as a city, other than social media, of course, able to provide information on parking bans during the, obviously during parking bans, whether it's snow issue or any emergency. Some cities and towns have used CopLogic. I know there's been some hesitation on using that, or a robocall, or a matter of a text, or providing a software. Perhaps residents are able to log in their information, their phone number, and be able to at least receive any type of updates. I think last I was told was that CopLogic should really be used for emergency only. Not everyone, surprisingly to some, not everyone has access to social media. Some folks just refuse to be on it. And so I think we should we can try to kind of expand that parking ban communication throughout the city. And I didn't know if there was any thoughts or suggestions on that other than the current CopLogic that we have, or what other tools. So I'm not sure if the director of the administration would be able to provide any feedback on that. Again, it's just trying to get going, make sure that we keep our streets plowed and clear, and that people know that there's a parking ban coming. It may make sense to some people. Some folks may say it's common sense. There's a parking ban, there's snow coming, there might be a parking ban, but I also want to make sure that we get the word out. So to the administration of the director.
Director Moretti?
I guess we can confirm, perhaps through the chair to Director Mason, I guess in the form of a question. Are any of the news media informed? Because I know that we'll advise, John would call the police department. Police department would issue the parking ban, but I believe the media is advised from the police department. Just want to confirm that. Because that could be aired media, or radio media. Question to Director Mason, or I could follow up if he doesn't have the answer.
No, that is true. They do go to all the news stations on TV. I believe the police have the direct access to that, but it does get posted on Channel 10, Channel 12. So that area is covered.
Through the chair to Director Moretti, if possible.
Yes.
Director, at what point can we really use CopLogic? Because I know it should be for like emergency onlys, but what do we really consider an emergency? Because I think there's been certain emergencies and I don't think we've used CopLogic. So is there, can we use that system if we have that in place? Do we still have a contract with them, or any other potential tools that we can use to communicate via text message or of some sort to folks that there's, and honestly, I said parking ban, but it could be a tool to be used more efficiently on even a couple of other issues.
I can speak with the colonel. Sometimes you don't want to overuse a public safety or a police, a primary police outlet. But I could solicit his input and into that. But I don't have an answer. Are there alternatives that we have? To my knowledge, no, other than our emergency system. I can ask that question, but sometimes if you publish too much, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. But
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I
we
don't think
did.
it's happening every day, you know what I mean? So I think that it would be useful to use that tool.
I see what you're saying about outreach, but it's been since I was a kid, and sure, decades, that the news media is the primary source. Social media certainly improve things.
No disrespect, already that times do change.
Correct, but now, yeah, correct, yeah, but we can't do paper. We're using Facebook. The city's website. We asked the council. And people have been very cooperative and very helpful. I can inquire. I would just say, but I don't want to speak on behalf of the emergency departments. I'd have to consult with them.
Sure. Do you mind just providing me or looping me in? I'd be happy to be part of that conversation if needed and at all, or provide me any updates as to what the police department has in terms of facilitating any communications through that tool.
I can talk with the colonel and we'll get back to you. Sure.
Yeah, thank you. And anyway, I think I'm done, and I had a couple other issues and concerns, but I think Council Member Ferry has that under his agenda item on there. Thank you.
Okay. Next, I had an item here that I would like to have the administration chime in on. I personally got contacted 3 or 4 times during the storm and pictures taken. People sent me emails. I saw it a lot on Facebook. A lot of people do not obey the parking ban when it's in effect. And Paul McCauley was absolutely fantastic in responding, and we had some situations taken care of. But I would just like the administration to tell us, what effort is being made that the parking ban violation stop being enforced, because some people really had a tough situation with their streets. I saw pictures. I spoke to several people. Are we making an effort to try and get this enforced, because it was a problem this past storm. I'm just being the messenger here. We did get contacted a lot. So if you could please just enlighten us.
Sure. The mayor shares that frustration. In fact, he's not happy about the situation. The process is the snow drive. If people are aware of it and they call it to the administration's attention or Public Works attention, particularly the plow drivers when they're out, would contact John Corso to call police dispatch. And as Director Mason and I discussed earlier, police apparently have in storms like this, they have an officer on the west side and in the east side, and they respond to all the calls. And what they first attempt is to ring doorbells or blast their sirens to get their people's attention. That works quite often, most of the time. This past storm, I believe Director Mason mentioned that there were 2 tickets and 2 tows. As you know, myself and the mayor were out, and there was many calls. Every time we saw vehicles out there, we'd call in. So the mechanism would be calling it. In this case, Paul McCauley was available. The Public Works, the police dispatch it out to and try to resolve it. But correct, people. I noticed too, there were several cars out of state, and people parked overnight. And the mayor was asking to have cars towed. So I guess most of the times on those calls, as Director Mason pointed out, statistically, there may be, I think, 15 or so, 15, 20, of which 2 were tagged and towed. Otherwise, the cars are removed.
Director Mason, did you have your hand up?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else have any input here or any discussion? I personally appreciate the fact that everybody was frustrated and an effort is being made to take care of it. So let's just, hopefully we'll continue on that path and people will get, the word will get out that if you park in the street during a snowstorm, you're gonna get tagged or you're gonna get towed. And if I think we enforce it, it'll just help the matter and everyone will be better off. Thank you very much. All right, next on the agenda, Councilwoman Moreno, you have something for discussion. Floor is yours.
Thank you to the chair. Tonight on the agenda, I want to discuss the potential for the city of Cranston's participation in the Rhode Island Community Septic System Loan Program and the Rhode Island Sewer Tie-in Loan Program. It was actually a resident that had reached out and asked a good question of, why doesn't Cranston take advantage of this program when so many other cities and towns in Rhode Island do? And this person is somebody who does not have the availability of sewers, Ward 4, which is a considerable part actually of Ward 4. And the septic system needs to be replaced. And, and this particular person, he lives in an area where probably a lot of his neighbors are going to be in a similar situation because the homes are coming up to, I think it's like about 40 years old in particular where he lives. So I was just wondering if that's something that we might want to avail ourselves of to fill everybody in. The septic system loan program. What it does is it allows, through the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, it allows Rhode Island cities and towns to have their residents who need to replace their septic systems in areas where sewer is not an option to take a very low interest loan. I believe the rate is like 1%. And the specific handling, I believe, of the loan is in the application process is not something that we as a city would have to be obligated with administering. It's done through the program. But there are, different requirements of it. And similarly, with respect to the sewer tie-in program, that is just what it sounds like as well. It would be if you live in an area where you do have the option of sewers, but you have a septic and you'd like to tie into the sewers, it would be a low interest loan to the residents of Cranston. And I guess, the program, from what I heard, has been successful in other cities and towns.
Would Director Mason like to chime in here?
Yeah, I'll chime in. We looked at this program, I'm thinking about 5 or 6 years ago, and it may have changed from where it was 5 or 6 years ago, because back then it was a requirement that the city have a loan program on the DEM's project priority list, which we do. It is on it. We could go through with this. And also, we would have to have the approved DEM on-site wastewater management plan, which currently we do not have an approved plan. We really didn't need one, but that's something that we could do in-house and get that done. I'm a little surprised that the Rhode Island Clean Water Finance is, or the Infrastructure Bank, it's called now, has changed, because it used to be where all the administrative functions had to go through city administration, through the finance department. If that has changed, then maybe that could very well be a game changer. We can look into that.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. How do you want to handle it, Director Mason?
Let me reach out to the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, and I think we'd need to get, it ends up being more of a finance issue with Bob Strom and company versus a public works issue. We would need to do that plan, but other than that, it would be more through the finance office.
Okay, I did put it on the agenda for next month's finance meeting, so we will wait until that finance meeting as well. And or in the meantime, you can reach out to Director Strom and see what his input is, and maybe research it a little bit too.
Okay, very good.
Because it'd be a great benefit to the residents, to help them out. 'Cause that's a lot of money for people to dole out, $15,000 or more. Oftentimes, there's a cap, I believe, on how much you can borrow, but it's a sizable amount. It's like 20 or 25,000 that I believe people can borrow. So that's a real game changer for residential homeowners.
I agree.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman Moreno and Director Mason. Does the administration have any input here? Would you like to discuss the matter at all? Director Moretti?
Yeah, sure. I just adding that I concur. It sounds like a worthwhile program to certainly look into, and look forward to seeing the result.
We'd like to thank Councilwoman Moreno for bringing this forward, and hopefully we can look into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on that matter? Okay. Next, we have a request from National Grid for a pole location at Eastview Avenue. I personally drove by and took a look. It's a brand new house. Doesn't look like there's anything out of the ordinary, just another pole they need to bring power to a residency. So do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, Rose, could you please take a vote on that?
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
Okay, I don't see anything else on the agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned. Councilman Riley, would you like to take a quick break before your meeting?
Sure. Should we do 5-10 minutes?
5 minutes, everybody?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break before the start of the ordinance meeting. Thank you very much, everyone. Happy New Year. Heather. Is it easier for you to understand everyone when we're on Zoom?
It's very good. Yes, it's very good. Thank you. Thank you. I had a little problem in the start off. I don't know why, but I'm fine now. Thank you.
If there are any committee members who are but have themselves either off the screen or muted, just let me know if you're back. All right. Is everybody ready? I'd like to call this month's meeting of the Ordinance Committee to order. And Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Present.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Present.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Present.
Councilman Campiano,
Present.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Present.
Councilman Riley,
Present.
Council President Paplaskas.
Present.
And I will entertain a motion to continue the approval of the prior meeting's minutes to next month.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to the committee business matters carried over was the ordinance entitled Animals, Roosters Prohibited. There's an amendment to that brought it back to the committee. I did see that the clerk did send out another amendment, and I just wanted to get legal's opinion on that. Councilor Angel, do we have to provide notice? There was a second amendment that was just put in.
Just for the record, Mr. Chairman, so that everybody on the call is clear, particularly the public. I know that the council probably is aware, but this was originally referred to the Ordinance Committee back in October. And at that time, the ordinance that was sent over strictly said that the keeping of any roosters is strictly prohibited, and that the provisions of the section will be strictly enforced. A floor amendment was introduced at that time, I believe by Councilwoman Moreno, and it was a substantive amendment because of the substance of the amendment in terms of the amount of language that it added. I believe it was late in the hour, if I recall right. It was sent back to committee. And then I think it was held in committee, and Councilwoman Moreno can jump in, and Councilwoman Renzulli's been working on this. They've been working together. My understanding is that it had been held a month or so, and there's a consensus on on a written amendment, and that was what had been talked about at the council, at the full council meeting, that, given that the amendment was, so long, the council thought it best that it be reduced to writing and sent back to the committee. As far as notice is concerned, the public does have notice of the ordinance. It does have notice of what the ordinance seeks to prohibit, which is strictly prohibit the keeping of roosters. The amendment would seem to allow roosters under certain circumstances. That had been talked about at the council meeting as well. I would take the position that the public does have notice as to the substantive framework of what this ordinance is about. Floor amendments are permitted, Mr. Chairman, as you know. But again, I would leave that to the committee and to the council to decide whether they think it needs to be re-advertised. But the true spirit of it, of the advertising provision, is whether or not there is a substantial change to the substance of the ordinance. The mere adding of words and amendment doesn't necessarily mean that there's a substantive change. A substantive change would be that if we're going to allow roosters to be permitted in District 1 but not District 5, or whatever the case may be, that's not what's being proposed here. So I leave it at the pleasure of the chair and the committee to decide the issue.
Thank you, Counselor. Yeah, my only concern was whether or not it was a substantive change from 150, where someone would say, no, that's okay. I wouldn't go down to City Hall and talk about this, down to 50, where maybe that would draw them in to have public comment on it. Was just my concern.
It's not
through the chair, if I may, Chairman, if I may,
sure.
Just offer my 2 cents here. I did receive a call from Solicitor Millay on this very issue, and the concern here, and Attorney Angel touched upon it to his credit. The issue here is, in the general sense, yes, the public is on notice that we intend to enact a rooster ordinance. There's no question about that. And the record, though a little spotty, does seem to support the idea that some of these issues were in fact touched upon. But the concern is that we have is that not all of them were. And as Attorney Angel said, sometimes, amendments clearly are allowed and always have been allowed. It becomes, it gets thorny when the amendment can be said to essentially swallow the original, so as to constitute really a whole new ordinance. It can be characterized that way. So if you look at the original ordinance and highlight the salient parts of it, the salient parts are, it mentions the Right to Farm Act. It carves out an exception for that. It talks about the single rooster. It talks about a fenced area house coop. And I think crucially, it mentions 150 feet and 250 feet. Those two boundaries are mentioned in the original. Now, the amendment is pretty comprehensive in the sense that it does incorporate the Right to Farm Act, but then it kind of goes off a little bit into much more detail, where it says that, there's a condition to having the single rooster. And number one, as I see it, these are the substantive changes. It's got to be contained from sunset to sunrise. That's a substantial change. That's a change on the merits. Enclosed sunlight, in an enclosed sunlight blocking coop. That's 2. Soundproof insulation. That's 3. 50 feet from the nearest property line and 100 feet from the nearest neighboring residential house. Those are fairly substantial reductions in the original setback requirements. So our concern is that this may be a case, and I'm not saying definitively it is. It's our concern, though, that someone could conceivably say, look, you advertised Ordinance A, but in fact, you discussed and you passed Ordinance B. And had we been aware that, these significant, substantial changes were going to be made, we would have been present at the meeting. So that's the concern that we have. So I compliment Councilwoman Renzulli and Councilwoman Moreno. I think they came up with a pretty ingenious solution actually to this whole rooster issue. So they did a tremendous job. So the concern certainly is not with the substance. The concern is strictly with the notice issue of the Open Meetings Act. So as Attorney Angel said, just to sort of hop on his bandwagon, I mean it's going to be up to the committee how they want to approach this. I guess you could do it one of two ways. If you really want to get it done without continuing this, you could pass. My suggestion would be pass the original as it was proposed out of committee. Then Councilwoman Moreno and Councilwoman Renzulli can then attach their written amendment to the ordinance, and it can be advertised. And we've done this before, and I'm sure Rose can corroborate this. Then we advertise it this way. Someone looks at the council meeting and sees ordinance 6.08.300, and it's laid out there, and then proposed amended ordinance right below it, so that now people can compare the two. They're totally on notice now, and then the amendment can be made at the council meeting. But at least this way, nobody can say we didn't know, anything was going on. Either that or just continue it to the next ordinance meeting. That's would be my feeling.
If I might, to piggyback on what Mr. Verdecchia had to say, you can treat this committee meeting as a workshop, come to a consensus on what essentially is a substitute ordinance, and proceed precisely as Attorney Verdecchia had discussed, with one, and I would just recommend one modification, that you essentially, you're going to advertise the old piece of legislation will be linked to the meeting agenda, and link an entirely new substitute ordinance and label it as such, so that the public's clear, that the committee is recommending an amended ordinance. Advertise it, and you can do the whole show at the council meeting as John had suggested. I think that's probably the most efficient way, that puts everybody on notice, gives them a point of reference, at least the public anyway. Puts it out there for everybody. That might be the cleanest way. John, I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, that's Steve. It's a matter of semantics, but essentially we were saying the same thing. You said it a little bit clearer than I said it, but I like that idea. The important thing here is it just puts someone on notice that, look, this was the original, but this is going to be the final that we would like to pass. This way, no one can come back and say, look, I didn't know all these other things were going into this, and they file a complaint with the Attorney General's office, and we have to do it all over again. I think that's a good suggestion you made.
Right, and you save a month and a half having it to come back to committee in the
Exactly. Instead of continuing to the next ordinance meeting, then we lose another month. I mean, that's the quickest way to do it. I agree with you.
Yep. So it's at the pleasure of the chair whether you want to treat this as a workshop and build some consensus around the amended language and go from there, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, no, I appreciate both opinions. So I'll entertain a motion on the docketed item.
I just have one point of information or question, Chair.
Yes.
We have two ordinances tonight, 92104 and 111201. Both of them, I think, kind of trying to deal with the same thing. Is this amendment a reconciliation of those two ordinances, or are we still treating these as separate ordinances?
I believe they're separate. Councilwoman Moreno?
Yes, to answer your question, they're separate, but another administrative issue, Lamis, Councilwoman Vargas is trying to get in. Her computer froze. If you can let her back in.
She's back in.
Okay, she's back. Okay, thank you.
So this amendment that we would be discussing would just be on 92104?
Correct.
Okay. So I know we have a lot of people from the public on the call that might want to speak on that under public comment. How do we do that? Do we just read it to them? There's nowhere for them to click on a link right now, right?
And Mr. President, I mean, that's, I think, what Attorney Videk, you and I were getting at in terms of treating this like a workshop so that the public can have ample opportunity to comment on essentially an amendment that they can't see because it was distributed late this afternoon. It certainly can be discussed and it can be read. If somebody wants to share a screen from where they sit, then that certainly can be done. But I wouldn't take a vote on that. I would take a vote at the full council on it after it's been re-advertised that it's going to be dealt with, just as John and I had talked about. And then on the full council agenda, provide them as a point of reference with the original and whatever language this committee comes to consensus on. If this committee says, hey, we like the amendment, everybody's good with it, then that's what gets put into a formatted document and is compared to the first and advertised for the full council meeting.
Thank you.
So tonight we'll discuss the one that's on the docket, and then in discussion, if we want to discuss some of those other points, like Attorney Angel had said, we can certainly do that to try to build consensus for the future. So I'll entertain a motion on the docketed item.
Motion on the docketed item.
I'll make a motion to approve on the 9/21/04.
Second. 9/21/04.
Any discussion? Seeing none. And as this was carried over from the last time, public comment was closed on this. Is that correct, Attorney Angel?
That's correct. Yep.
Is this where we would read the amendment? Make a motion?
Well, might I suggest someone who has it on their computer share their screen so that the public can see the amendment and we can, one of you can read it at the same time. If someone has an original version of that on their computer, share your screen and the public will be able to see it. I'm not suggesting, obviously, this isn't the end all be all on that. You should, John, I don't know how you feel, but we do the public hearing at the council meeting on this. They give people to see it.
I agree, Steve. I mean, unfortunately, this is the difficulty that we're dealing with this Omicron and this COVID situation. It's really putting people at a disadvantage. So I don't know how effective it will be if we can somehow disseminate this so that the public can see it. I am not a technological geek. I have no idea how you would do that, and I don't know how effective it would be. So I don't know what we're really going to accomplish. Obviously, it's up to the committee what they want to do, but it seems to me that it would be a lot cleaner once we follow the procedure that you and I outlined. So that there's no doubt and everyone has it in front of them and everybody can refer to it. This is kind of doing it. This is almost kind of like, shutting the light off and grasping in the dark, hoping you catch something. I don't know. I mean, it's up to the committee. I don't think it's very efficient. That's my own opinion.
So I suggest that we move forward on the current docketed amendment. And then when it goes to the full council, that's when any further amendments that anybody wants to put in can throw on it. But for tonight's purposes, we probably should, like they said, start with this as our first stepping point. Council President?
Not to be, continue the conversation anymore, but if we make any amendments at the full council, it'll have to come back to committee anyways.
That's correct.
So would it be easier for the public sense to just, not that I want this withdrawn because, this is a good ordinance.
But if you withdraw it, then you have to go through the process of introducing a new bill, sending it to committee by charter, and then sending it back to council for full vote. John's right. Pass this out of committee to the floor of the council. It now sits, the original bill now sits before the full council at the end of the month. A substitute ordinance can be introduced as an amendment to the original and schedule your public hearing on the original and the comparison point of the amendment for that night. Public will have an opportunity to not only be heard, but they'll have that bill in front of them because they can see the link on the website.
Okay.
Makes the most sense, unless you disagree.
No,
Through the
it's
chair.
fine. Chair's discretion, and it's not my bill. Whatever the sponsors would like to do, I'll support.
Councilwoman Renzulli?
I'm sorry. I assume the public might be getting confused because now I am. What is it that we're allowed to discuss tonight? Can we discuss everything tonight?
Yeah.
Or we just can't vote on it? Or we can't have discussion? Because when they say a workshop,
I think,
I imagine we can have a discussion, but we can only vote on the original thing that was submitted tonight.
my recommendation is that you have a workshop tonight to discuss the amendment. You all on this committee have seen the amendment. Have a discussion about the amendment. If everybody's in agreement on the amendment, then that can be put into an amended ordinance at the council level, okay? And it will be adopted as an amendment to the ordinance that you just sent back to the council. And you'll have your full public hearing that night with an opportunity for the clerk to re-advertise it.
So do we need a motion to have the workshop?
Nope.
Okay.
You're discussing the ordinance. It's an agenda item that's properly before you.
All right, so Councilwoman Moreno, would you like to be heard?
Sure. Thank you to the chair. Councilwoman Renzulli and I have worked diligently on the rooster ordinance amendment, and the amendment that we're seeking is it will read on line 28. It will end just after strictly prohibited. It'll say when such activity : is protected by RIGL 2-23-1 et sequitur, or, and this is some of where the changes will lie, is outside of protections afforded under the Rhode Island Right to Farm Act and located on lots zoned A80, being a minimum of 2 acres, while limited to 1 single rooster on the condition that said rooster be contained from sunset to sunrise in an enclosed sunlight blocking coop with soundproof insulation that is at least 50 feet from the nearest property line and at least 100 feet from the nearest neighboring residential house. So essentially the changes there are just with respect to the coop structure itself. The prior amendment, as advertised, discussed the coop as well, but this is a little a variation of it in terms of having the single rooster be housed within that coop from sunset to sunrise, and with the coop having the soundproof insulation and the light blocking fabric, if there are any transparencies or windows, will help to alleviate the problem of the sound of the rooster crowing in those, agricultural rural areas. The amendment, as previously suggested, remains the same in terms of it being 1 single rooster and having the coop. And the other modification with respect to the distance, the prior amendment as advertised had different distances. They were 150 feet and 250 feet. The problem with that in practicality is that although these properties are 2 acres, some of these properties are not 200 feet wide, never mind, 250 from a neighboring house. It would not be practical. But this type of distance would be practical. And in talking to some people that have roosters or live near people who have roosters in rural areas, found this would be satisfactory. And this is why we were seeking to change the distance. In addition, if the coop is something that has soundproofing, it being within that proximity is going to alleviate the sound significantly, combined with the fact that it's going to be in the coop within the hours that you don't want to hear a rooster crowing. So that's it. And then we're also seeking to, for clarification as part of this additional amendment, add a definition basically for a sunlight blocking coop as being a coop that has all window or transparent surfaces covered with the light blocking material, curtain, or similar light blocking fabric, also known as blackout curtains. So this is our proposed solution to the problem, so that people in the rural area of Cranston can still keep a rooster, keep that agricultural element that a lot of these people want to have. And at the same time, again, we're all in agreement that the roosters do not belong in the non-agricultural settings within our city in the urban areas. That has not changed, and that will solve that problem as well. And Councilwoman Renzulli, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
So I don't know if I can, thank you, Councilwoman Moreno, for working with me on this. Additionally, I wanted to add some enforcement mechanisms, some violations for the offenses. Is that where I would say that now, or do we just write that in the proposed amendment? It's not written in the proposed amendment. So I would just ask legal if I can talk about that now, correct? I can't hear you.
Attorney Angel, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Sure, you can add that now, but I would also suggest that that particular part of the, and I don't have it in front of me, I'd have to look, may well come with its own enforcement mechanism. So we'd have to look at that, but that's certainly something that can be roped in.
Okay, so just my suggestion is to add, violations so people know what, they're going to be fined if someone has to come in and they're in violation. They're not keeping my rooster in their coop from sunset to sunrise. They're not, there's not soundproofing in there. I would suggest, similar to what's proposed in the separate chicken ordinance, the first offense at $100, the second at $150, and the third offense at $200. That would be my suggestion. And then I would, be open to, I personally liked the footage from Councilwoman Moreno's original amendment to my original ordinance. I don't know if an attorney can tell us if there's a further compromise, instead of going from 150 to 50, if we can go from 150 to 100. That seems more of a compromise to me than from 150 down to 50. I don't know if we need to pull in a planning person to talk about these lots. I know that they're all shaped differently, and that's why you need to have 200 feet in frontage. So I don't know if saying 100 feet from the property line is fair. I'm open to discussion, and I do want to thank Councilwoman Moreno for working with me on this and, trying to compromise so that we can, get this taken care of.
If I can just interject, and I'd like, is Attorney Videcchia still on the line?
Yes, I'm here, Steve. Yep.
John, I mean, what I'm hearing in this dialogue, in this workshop, is that there are going to be more substantive changes than what was introduced in the original. Based on what I'm hearing, I think this thing should be entirely rewritten, reintroduced, re-advertised, and come back to committee. There are just too many amendments up in thin air. Nothing's been committed to paper as an official amendment. It's really not fair. It's not
yeah,
fair.
Steve, it's a good point.
I agree.
And, me, you, Jessica, and Matt are lawyers, and we've all heard the expression when it comes to the hearsay rule that the exceptions literally swallow the rule.
Yeah.
And I think that's what took place here. There's just so many changes that this ordinance has essentially taken on a new form. And
Yes.
I think we need to act accordingly. So I would agree.
Yeah. I mean, if the committee chooses to pull the original from sending it back to the floor, you can vote to do that. But to move forward on the basis that John and I understood at the very beginning of this item on the agenda, I'm no longer comfortable. I don't think it would be appropriate. We're talking about a completely different piece of legislation changing boundaries with enforcement. It's totally different than what was proposed in the beginning.
I have
Thank
to
you.
agree.
Thank you, guys. So at this time, we would have to withdraw. Who made the motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, you make a motion to reconsider the referral out to the council. And on an affirmative vote of that, then you just vote to let it stay in committee, right where it is, let it die in committee, and bring a whole new bill before the council. John, what do you think?
Yeah, in the State House, they would basically say it's postponed indefinitely and it would just die. That's what we would do in the Judiciary Committee.
Exactly right.
So
That's exactly right. That's the recommendation. I agree.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
What
I'll
is the
second the
motion?
motion.
Are
please?
looking to continue?
Solicitor, would you put on the, not solicitor, Attorney Angel, would you put on the record the specific language?
You need a motion to reconsider referring this out to the council, to the full council meeting for a vote. You need an affirmative vote of that to reconsider it.
Do I have a motion?
Motion
to reconsider.
Second,
Any discussion?
I have a discussion for the chair.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Again, this is just to reiterate, make sure we're all on the same page and that I know what we're going to all be voting for. This is to just kind of let it die and postpone it or just pull it out and
What
continue
you're
it.
doing is reconsidering the motion to refer it to council. That's all you're doing with this.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Ferry,
No.
Councilwoman Vargas,
This is to reconsider, correct? I'm just making sure.
Correct.
Yes, it would be a yes to reconsider.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
No.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
yes. So,
Now, if the committee chooses to essentially introduce a new bill at the next council meeting, as Attorney Videcchia recommended, you vote to postpone consideration of the ordinance that's before the committee indefinitely.
I'll entertain a motion.
so moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I would
Yes.
like an explanation of what the motion is again. I'm sorry.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Council, yes would be to have the bill die right here.
Postpones your consideration of what is presently before you indefinitely. That's what it does. There's
Thank
no, there's nothing to do with it at that point. It's been rendered inert.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Ferry,
No.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
No.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. And through the chair,
Yes.
I just want to get some clarification for everybody on the Zoom tonight, that this will be reintroduced with everything that was discussed tonight, but correct this so that way everybody at home can read it and see it and it'll be advertised. That way everybody's on the same page of what we're talking about, and there will be a public hearing on it.
Start all over again.
Okay.
Most
perfect.
importantly, there will be a period of public comment again, so everybody will have a chance to be heard.
I think that's the cleanest way to do it. I'm sorry to everybody that's on the call tonight that wanted to do this, but it's really difficult to do these meetings on Zoom. And when you start making amendments like this, it just gets harder. So,
Councilwoman Renzulli?
Just through the chair, and there is, I don't know if you guys can see, I don't know how your Zoom is set up to see, there is a lot of I don't know if I'm even allowed to say this, but so stop me if I'm not, Attorney Angel. There is a lot of comment in the question and answer of people not being able to comment on this tonight. So I don't want to, and I don't think that Councilwoman Moreno wants to put anything forward that the public does not get to have part in the discussion on. So thank you.
Thank you. And moving on, next is ordinance 11-21-01, animals generally, sponsored by Councilwoman Moreno. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, and any discussion? Councilwoman Moreno, would you like to begin?
Sure, thank you to the chair. This ordinance deals with domestic chickens, and I did have a conversation with Director McCauley. He had indicated to me that the administration has found that domestic chicken keeping has not been something that they have received many complaints on, unlike what was previously the understanding. So what I was seeking to do is hear from the administration, because the intent of this is to facilitate, a solution to a problem. If the administration is saying that there is no problem because they are the recipient of more of these types of complaints, then I don't have any problem withdrawing the domestic chicken ordinance. So I'd just like to hear from the administration what is the situation. Thank you.
Yes, on that, I have to defer to Deputy McCauley. Him and Director Smith are the recipients of that. Frankly, he handles it. And if that's what he conveyed to you, that's what was mentioned to me in the office. But he knows firsthand, so he'd be more of the expert, if you will, in receiving the calls along with the ladies in the office. So he would have firsthand knowledge. Mine is secondhand as yours. So I believe Director McCauley or Deputy McCauley.
Okay. Is he available this evening?
I don't know if he's on the call.
Okay, because we had a specific discussion with Director McCauley. It was just this week, as a matter of fact, and he knew that this would be on this evening. And my understanding was that he would be getting back to me. So I assume that he would be on the call this evening with respect to the answer. We had this exact conversation as I conveyed. If the city doesn't deem it as being a problem, that there's no point in legislating more on our residents if we don't need to. So apparently Director McCauley is not available this evening, or didn't communicate an answer to you.
Correct. I was not aware of that conversation.
Okay. I'm not a member of the ordinance committee. I would propose that the ordinance be continued until next month in order to get an answer from Director McCauley as to what is the pulse of what's going on in our city.
I will gladly do a motion for you on that, Councilwoman Moreno, if you wish. So let's.
Councilwoman Vargas, you want to withdraw your motion to approve?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, Councilwoman Vargas, do you want to withdraw your motion to approve?
Oh, I'll withdraw my motion to approve, so that in that way we can, yes, introduce
Okay.
another
I withdraw my
motion.
motion.
And I'll entertain a motion to continue.
Sure.
Motion
so,
to continue for next month.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm having technology issues this evening.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
All right, moving on to the new matters before the committee. We have ordinance 12-21-01, entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, One-Way Traffic on Certain Streets. between certain hours on Eden Park Drive. That was sponsored by Councilwoman Germain. And I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? And is there anyone from the public that wishes to be heard for or against this motion?
There's one person, two people with their accounts name. First is Enrique Blanco.
This is on the traffic for which street, Chair? Just clarify which.
Eden Park Drive.
Eden Park Drive.
Yeah,
Great,
Mr. Blanco, would you like to be heard on this ordinance?
No, I'm all set. My hand was raised for the previous two ordinance, and I was upset I was muted, but unless we want to talk about that now, I'm all set with the one-way stuff.
All right, thank you very much.
Next is Danielle Mason.
Hi, Danielle. Would you like to speak on this ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, just your name and address for the record.
8 Eden Park Drive, Danielle Mason.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
We were there in December to reschedule for today, and I had provided a petition, and I emailed Miss Germain and Mr. I believe Pivia with some information, some videos, some still photo shoots, and letters of people over the years of living here of this matter, and it's not getting better, it's getting worse.
Thank you. Did you have any further comment?
I'm just seeking some assistance from the city if possible. I mean, I've been here over 18 years, and I've spoken to various people from the police department, from the city, when Fung was there, other people in legislation, to try to help us with the traffic. I'm just asking if Chestnut Avenue and Oakland Avenue is a one direction with signs that state during school hours only, can Eden Park Drive have that as well? I'm not saying all day, just school hours, because they're parking in our driveway, they're blocking our driveway. And as parking on the street, the school buses, the school vans, and parents and regular residents on the street cannot get up and down this road. It's extremely congested.
I would also like to say something. I'm Jasmine Mason. I'm Danielle's daughter, and I would just like to say, not only that, not only are we not able to get up and down the road, but we're not allowed to get into our driveways. So I don't know if you guys were able to see the footage. I had sent a Dropbox link of, the cars parking in our driveways as well as blocking them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you, everyone.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to be heard?
Seeing no further public comment.
All right, and so I'll open it up. I will close public comment on this ordinance and open it up to discussion before the body. Councilwoman Germain, would you like to touch
Yes,
on that?
thank you, Chairman. Thank you. So as I see, you see, I put off this ordinance based on the complaint of the resident living in Eden Park Drive. And I met with some of them, and we received also the petition. They are organizing, and it's been an issue for over years and decades. So they are asking to have it one way during school hours. So I put it off, as I hope that you will vote on that and make life better for the resident as well, and safety for children living in this neighborhood as well. So I appreciate that you vote yes to make Eden Park one way during school hours.
Anyone else like to be heard?
Yeah.
Council President?
Thank you. I just have a question for the city clerk. Both of these ordinances tonight, 2101 and 02. Do they have reports yet from the traffic engineer? Not that I want to slow this process down at all. I think the work we're doing on this is great, but I know statutorily we're supposed to let the traffic engineer do these ordinance for 60 days, and he might actually have a solution to the parking issues. So I'm just curious to see if we have a traffic report.
I have not received any as of today.
Okay.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Actually, I apologize. I'll put my hand on. I had the same question as Council President. Sorry about that.
I would certainly entertain a motion to amend the motion to approve subject to the traffic engineer's approval.
Yeah, I mean, we could get the traffic report between now and the council meeting. So, I mean, we could pass it pending the review of the traffic report, which, I'm good with, and it's up to the sponsor, really. Thank you.
Councilwoman Jermaine?
I don't have any problem to have a traffic report, but the fact is the issue's been there for over a decade. And I don't think we need any more proof to show that during school hours, people in Eden Park cannot get away, can get out their driveway, people parking on the driveway, it's congested. So this is something people in Eden Park has been living for over 10 years. I don't think a traffic will change anything. So if we want to do a traffic, I don't mind, but I think we have the evidence that this needs to be done.
Council President, just as a point of information, do we even have to subject it to the traffic report? As long as the traffic report is there, the council can still vote yes or no on the proposal, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they were supposed to give the traffic engineer 60 days. I think it's in the charter. It's either done by charter or by ordinance to give a report to us. Now, we can certainly agree with his remarks, go against his remarks. It's really the will of the council, but it is good to get that traffic report done because he might have some more suggestions too, with no parking signs regarding people's driveways, et cetera. But I mean, I support the ordinance. I have no problem with that, but I'm going to have the same situation on my ordinance next. So we don't have a traffic report yet. So just wanted to bring it up. I'm not trying to be the, the stick in the mud or the curmudgeon here and not get this passed, but
No, I think we can certainly go forward on the motion to approve because the council as a full body has to vote on this anyway. And we can deal with the traffic report at that time. I agree with Councilwoman Jermaine, and I saw the petition. This is a serious issue.
Absolutely. And you know what? By the time the full council meeting happens, we could have this report. So I think we should pass them out of the full council.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
All right. And then finally, we have the ordinance number 12-21-02, sponsored by Council President Paplaskas. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to be heard for or against this motion?
Danielle Mason has the hand up.
Hi, Danielle. Your hand.
Sorry, that was for earlier for hours, but that's okay.
No problem. Have a good night. Is there anyone else with their hand up?
Joe Licker.
Hi, Mr. Licker.
How are you?
Very
good,
good, sir.
evening, and stay healthy, everybody. Number one, speaking for the Tabor Street condos, this has been going on for many years, and I'm just very appreciative from the whole condo association. This has finally come to a head, and our main concern was the safety of the people on the street. There was parking on both sides. We're in a very unique situation. Our side of the street is residential, the other side is commercial. And we had one business that likes to park on both sides of the streets, and you can't get a rescue or anything down this street. when he parks on both sides. And I'm just grateful that it has come to light, and hopefully it will pass. And I appreciate everything you people have done.
Thank you, Mr. Licker.
We thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to be heard?
Seeing no additional public comment.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the council? Council President?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I hope this ordinance fixes the issue on the street. It's a very small street. It is a mix of residential and commercial. Same thing, I like to pass this on to the full council pending a traffic report. I just want to thank Mr. Licker for being a great advocate for the Tabor Street Condo Association. And if I had a vote, I would re-elect you as head of the Condo Association. You're doing a good job. So thank you, Mr. Licker.
Any further comment? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's all for the agenda. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
And
Aye.
hi.
All right,
Aye.
thank you. That concludes the ordinance meeting for the month of January.
Be well, everyone. Thank you.